I wanted to start off today's episode with a pretty big piece of news here. Reports are saying that the CIA has warned Israel that Iran will strike targets within Israel within the next 48 hours. This is a big deal. This is the first direct conflict between Israel and Iran since the war started. Obviously, what sparked this issue was the Israeli airstrike on the building near the Iranian embassy in Syria in Damascus. It killed about seven, I believe it was, high-ranking officials of the IRGC. So this is obviously a big deal. The big question is, will Iran respond with a proportionate response, or will they escalate? They called on other Muslim countries, saying that their cowardice has encouraged Israel to conduct this. So I've talked about this on past episodes. With the ending of Ramadan, you could see a uniting of the Muslim countries around Israel that haven't really entered into the war yet. The ending of Ramadan may start that. And you have Iran directly calling out these countries for not doing enough and being cowards, is what they called them, and claiming that they're the reason that this airstrike happened, is their cowardice and unwillingness to enter the war fully and to unite as Muslim nations is encouraging Israel to do stuff like this. They also called out Turkey for being hypocritical with its relationship to Israel, which is pretty funny. Turkey will be Iran's biggest ally. I mean, they're the biggest army in the Middle East, and they're not going to be on the side of Israel. I mean, they're trying to get Israel. They're introducing war crimes to the international court to get Israel they're calling on Israel to be convicted of war crimes, and Iran is saying that they're hypocritical and on Israel's side, which is pretty funny. But like I said, with Iran calling on other Muslim nations to fully unite and enter the war with Iran against Israel, the ending of Ramadan could spark that. And tensions in the Middle East are rising pretty fast within the last couple of days. If Iran, some people say that it's unlikely Iran actually does strike Israel proper. They may strike targets outside of Israel that are like Mossad stations or something. But the report said that the CIA said that Iran will use drones and missiles to hit directly Israel, to hit inside of Israel's borders. Whether that will happen, I don't know. But like I said, it will be interesting to see if Iran responds with a proportionate response or if they escalate it even more. And will it be Iran alone, or will it be Hezbollah, Hamas? Will it be Iran and its proxies launching an attack against Israel? And then again, you have to also wonder, will the U.S. back Israel if Iran does strike, or will they sit this one out, send money? I think there's an $18 trillion package that was approved today to go to Israel, or is about to be approved to go to Israel. So will we just continue to send the money, or will we actually put our ships back in the Red Sea to deter Iran, or to potentially strike Iran or its proxies if they do something? I know we pulled them back out. They were there for a month or two after October 7th. There may be some there right now, but our big ones have been pulled back home. So it'll be interesting to see how much the U.S. will back Israel if Iran does indeed strike within the next 48 hours. It's also something to note that Quds Day is Friday, which is also known as Jerusalem Day. It's a day that takes place on the last day of Ramadan every year, and the day is meant as something to take back Jerusalem from Israel is the purpose of the day. And it's interesting time frame because I think I mentioned that Ramadan ended on next Tuesday in last episodes. It actually ends this Friday. Experts have pointed out that typically after assassinations like we saw earlier this week, Muslim nations normally take 3 days to mourn and then respond the next day. And that would be Friday in this instance, which happens to also be on the last day of Ramadan and on Quds Day or Jerusalem Day. So the elements are in place for an escalation. Like I said, the ending of Ramadan, Jerusalem Day. You have Iran calling on other countries to unite and fully enter the war. So the tensions in the Middle East are once again on the rise. But this time, the head of the snake, Iran, has been brought into it directly. And, before it was Iranians' proxies of Hezbollah and Hamas. So, who knows? With Iran, the head of the snake finally getting provoked directly for the first time since the war started from Israel, things could get dicey. I mentioned it was unlikely that Iran would strike Israel directly because of the United States and potentially them then launching a conflict against Iran. But maybe the U.S. won't. It'll be interesting to see. That is something I'm most curious about, to see how much the U.S. will actually back Israel against Iran if Iran does indeed launch a strike. And will this start off a full-fledged war between the U.S. and Iran? I don't think it's likely. Then again, I'm not even fully convinced that Iran will strike Israel proper, though may strike Mossad stations outside of Israel's border. But who knows? They may full-fledged launch drone strikes and ballistic missiles into Israel. There's no way of knowing. Iran is really unpredictable. And like I said, there's still the option on the table of it not being Iran itself, it being Hezbollah. Israel Defense Minister Gallant said that they are expanding their operation to Hezbollah and said that, quote, "We're being attacked from all sides and we have to go to war." So we have the Israeli defense minister himself saying that a war with Hezbollah is inevitable. So will this kickstart that war? Will Israel not only respond to Iran, will they strike Hezbollah and start that war? There's a lot of ways for this to unfold. There's no way of telling yet, and it all dictates from what Iran will do. What will Iran's response be? Will it be a full-fledged missile and drone strikes into Israel proper, or will it be sort of, stations, more of a strategic surgical response? Who knows? I mean, these countries are known for their emotional responses rather than strategic. I mean, look what Hamas did on October 7th. They weren't supposed to do that. They kind of just jumped the gun and did that and started this war. There was a plan in place for eventually all of Iran's proxies of Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis in Yemen, their troops in West Bank, and Iran itself to launch at the same time, to activate at the same time, and Israel would have stood no chance. And the U.S. wouldn't have expected it and wouldn't have been there to help them. It would have been a disaster for Israel. But Hamas jumped the gun and kind of went rogue. So these Iran and its proxies are known for their emotional responses. So who knows? Iran may give a very non-proportionate response and start a full-fledged war with Israel. Who knows? I mean, they've been saying their usual rhetoric, but the leader has said that this pushes Israel's extinction further, like it's going to happen sooner. We need all of our Muslim brothers to unite so we can finally get rid of Israel. Who knows? Like I said, the ending of Ramadan and Quds Day, this is a perfect opportunity for them to say, look, today's Jerusalem Day. Let's take what's ours back from Israel. Today's the day to do it. We've mourned for the last couple of days for our leaders that were assassinated. Now's our time to respond. Iran, Hezbollah, the Houthis, Hamas, let's all unite and let's end Israel. So Friday could be a very interesting day. Like I said, it's very possible that Iran doesn't do that. They take the strategic route, although they're not really known for that. But what they are known for is using their proxies. So it may not even be Iran. It may be Hezbollah. Who knows? There's no telling what will happen, but what we do know is tensions are on the rise. Like I said, when this happened, this was a big deal because this was the first time Israel directly went after Iran and Iranian military officials. Earlier in the war, it was mainly Hamas military officials. And yes, obviously Hamas and Iran are tied, but this was the first time that Israel actually killed and assassinated one of Iran's, or they killed many. They killed 7, I believe it was, Iranian high-ranking officials. So this was a big deal. And I knew when that happened that this was the perfect way for tensions to go back up in the Middle East. And it appears that it is. I mean, the reports that the CIA are warning Israel that Iran will strike targets within Israel's border within the next 48 hours. That lines up just about with Friday, the ending of Ramadan and Quds Day. So it's something to be on the lookout for. Tensions on the Middle East are starting to go back up again, and it's not really a good sign for Israel that the United States has been slowly backtracking on its support of Israel. We have it where the first time the United States didn't veto a ceasefire resolution, they didn't vote for it, but they abstained from the vote, which is practically a vote for it. It's the first time they didn't veto a ceasefire resolution in the UN. And obviously, the public disputes between Biden and Netanyahu, the U.S. is backtracking on its support for Israel. So it's not really a good sign when tensions are rising again in the Middle East, and it appears that that Israel's biggest ally, the United States, is getting cold feet and not really supporting Israel as they were after October 7th. So there's many pieces to this puzzle that make this very interesting, and we'll just have to wait and see. Things like this are unpredictable, especially in the Middle East. Emotional responses happen all the time that are unpredictable. So we'll see what happens. It all starts with how Iran will respond in the first place. How much of a response and attack on Israel will they give? We know they will respond. They have to, practically. But what will dictate what happens over the next couple of days is Iran's response. And look at Friday being that day of response. It may be earlier, maybe later, but if I had to guess myself, with the ending of Ramadan and Quds Day or Jerusalem Day being on Friday, and the CIA reportedly warning Israel 48 hours, which lines up to close to Friday, it'll be Friday in the Middle East, then that may be the day that stuff happens. So we'll see. It, like I said, it's very unpredictable. The Middle East is very unpredictable. There's many pieces that we can't predict yet. However, Iran will respond. That will dictate how things go. So tensions on the rise again in the Middle East, and let's hope that cooler heads prevail. I don't think they will, but we'll see.